They went cold the second you needed real support. And for a long time, you blamed yourself for that shift. You thought you were asking for too much, or that your timing was bad, or that your emotions were inconvenient, or that somehow your needs were the reason everything changed. But the truth is far simpler and far more painful. The moment you needed something real from them, something deeper than connection at their convenience, something more vulnerable than casual affection, you crossed a threshold they were never prepared to meet. People who fear intimacy often seem warm at first, open, charming, engaged. They can laugh with you, flirt with you, talk late into the night, make you feel chosen in the lightest, easiest ways. They can be present when the emotional cost is low. But the moment you needed real support, actual emotional presence, genuine care, consistent comfort, accountability, they froze. They disappeared into themselves. They shut down instead of stepping closer. Because for avoidant or emotionally underdeveloped people, someone else's vulnerability feels like pressure rather than connection, responsibility rather than intimacy, danger rather than closeness. When everything between you was light, they could participate. But the moment weight appeared, your hurt, your fear, your confusion, your need, they interpreted it as something threatening. They saw your vulnerability and panicked internally, even if they didn't show it on the surface. They felt cornered by your emotions, not because you were overwhelming, but because they have spent their entire lives avoiding their own. Your need for support touched a place inside them they never learned to face. They are emotionally unskilled, emotionally unpracticed, emotionally unprepared. So their only tool is distance. Their coldness wasn't a measured decision. It was a reflex, a survival mechanism. The second you expose the depth of your feelings, you expose the depth of their fear. Avoidant individuals often believe relationships are safest when nothing is required of them. They want connection without responsibility, closeness without demands, affection without vulnerability. Your moment of need shattered the illusion they were comfortable in. It reminded them that relationships require showing up, not just when it's fun, but when it's hard. Not just when they're in control, but when someone else is hurting. Not just when connection is convenient, but when something is required of them emotionally. And that is where they cannot follow you. They don't know how to offer support because no one ever offered it to them in a way that felt safe or meaningful. They were never taught emotional reciprocity. They were never modeled empathy that felt secure. They were never shown that love is more than proximity. It is presence. So when you needed presence, their whole system rebelled. They shut down, not because you were too much, but because your emotional needs illuminated their emotional emptiness. They could not meet you at a depth they have spent years avoiding within themselves. And here is what you must understand. Your need revealed nothing shameful about you. It revealed everything hidden about them. They weren't overwhelmed by your feelings. They were overwhelmed by their inability to handle them. They weren't scared of your vulnerability. They were scared of being expected to reciprocate it. They weren't withdrawing from you. They were withdrawing from the pressure of their own inadequacy. They know how to enjoy connection, not how to sustain it. They know how to flirt, not how to show up. They know how to comfort themselves with distance, not how to comfort someone else with closeness. They know how to protect themselves, not how to protect a bond. And when you ask them for support that any emotionally mature person would consider normal, they interpreted it as a demand for emotional intimacy they are fundamentally unequipped to give. To you, it was a moment of need. To them, it was a moment of exposure. So they went cold, because distance is their safety, because withdrawal is their habit, because silence is their shield. You thought their coldness meant you were too much, but it meant you were finally asking for something real. And real is where they disappear. People like this can handle your strength, but not your softness. They can handle your confidence, but not your wounds. They can handle your attention, but not your absence. They can handle flirting, but not responsibility. They can handle desire, but not depth. They want the benefits of closeness without the demands of intimacy. They want to feel wanted without having to give anything substantial in return. And when you shift from light connection to genuine emotional needs, you expose their incapacity. Not their cruelty, not their hatred, their incapacity. They lack the emotional muscles required to show up for another person. They want partners who take care of themselves so they never have to. They want relationships where they never need to be accountable. They want the illusion of intimacy without the work of it. But you are built for more. You are built for reciprocal love, not one-sided emotional labor. You are built for someone who moves closer when you are hurting, not someone who retreats into silence. You are built for someone who sees your vulnerability and meets it with warmth, not defensiveness. You are built for someone who listens without shutting down, someone who supports without disappearing, someone who understands that intimacy requires presence, not avoidance, someone who has the emotional capacity to handle what you feel, someone who doesn't flinch when love gets real. And when you finally meet that person, you will understand how profoundly you lowered your standards just to keep someone who could not meet you. You will realize how much emotional weight you carried alone. You will see how deeply you learned to tolerate coldness. You will recognize how often you excused behavior that hurt you. And you will forgive yourself. Because you weren't weak. You weren't naive. You weren't foolish. You were hopeful. You believed that if you showed them how to love you, eventually they would learn. But relationships don't teach people emotional skills they don't want to develop. You cannot make someone emotionally available by needing them. You cannot make someone supportive by asking. You cannot make someone present by breaking. Their coldness is not a failure of your worth. It is a measurement of their emotional capacity. And your healing begins when you stop interpreting their withdrawal as your inadequacy and start recognizing it as their limitation. You deserve someone whose instinct is warmth, someone whose reflex is closeness, someone who does not vanish when you become human, someone who understands that love is not just wanting, but showing up. So let this truth settle inside you gently. They didn't go cold because you failed. They went cold because your need revealed the truth they hide from everyone, including themselves. Let them be who they are. And let yourself move towards someone who can actually meet you. Welcome back to this space. You're safe here.